Here are 10 of the most dangerous prisons in the world. 10. Black Dolphin Prison, Russia. Black Dolphin Prison, aka Penal Colony, is located near Russia's border with Kazakhstan. It's reserved for the country's most dangerous and violent convicted criminals, including serial killers, cannibals, pedophiles, and Chechen terrorists. It's named after the dolphin sculpture created by the inmates that sit on the grass at the front of the prison reception. 2 inmates are assigned to each 50 square foot cell, which is behind 3 sets of steel doors to keep it extra isolated from guards and other inmates. Prisoners are allowed outside their cells for only 90 minutes per day in a barren concrete exercise yard. If they are moved anywhere within the facility, they are cuffed, blindfolded, and forced to walk bent over so they can't learn the prison's layout, interact with other prisoners, or overpower the guards. This technique is believed to be unique to Black Dolphin. Number 9. Committee Maximum Security Prison, Kenya. Kenya is notorious for tough conditions in its prisons, and Committee Maximum Security Prison, located in Roysambu constituency, is regarded as the worst. It was built in 1954 by the British and modeled after an old-style colonial system to host offenders during a state of emergency declared in October 1952. Committee still has its original gallows, though the last execution there was in 1987. It is notoriously overcrowded, and the conditions unsanitary. The prison's official capacity is 1,200, though reports suggest there are between 1,800 and 2,500 inmates crammed inside. Serious health conditions including HIV and AIDS, gonorrhea, syphilis, tuberculosis, and dysentery are rampant. Though Committee was already well known for housing political prisoners and executions by hanging, its infamy grew in 2008 when a riot sparked by a contraband search was captured on cell phones and shown on television. It also made headlines again in 2021 when 3 convicted terror suspects escaped. 7 wardens were later arrested for helping aid their escape. Number 8. La Sabaneta Prison, Venezuela. La Sabaneta was a notoriously oppressive, violent, and dangerous prison that had to shut down in 2013 as a result of a series of riots, poor living conditions, disorientation, and extensive human rights abuse. On January 3, 1994, a riot broke out due to ongoing gang activity. This very incident caused over 150 inmates to lose their lives, some at the hands of rival gang members, and some at the hands of the prison staff. Gang violence was a common practice here due to a lack of security personnel. In 2013, more than 69 residents of Sabaneta died, which led to it permanently closing its doors. Imagine a prison being so bad they had to shut it down. Number 7. San Quentin State Prison, USA. The oldest prison in California, San Quentin, is notoriously known for its violence. It has been home to many infamous criminals, including Charles Manson, Scott Peterson, and Sirhan, who assassinated Robert F. Kennedy. It had the only death row facility in the state for more than 700 death row inmates, the largest facility in the United States, and was home to California's only gas chamber. But in early 2022, the state started the process of closing death row and relocating the inmates, 3 years after the California governor ended executions in the state. Over the years, and particularly in the 1960s and 70s, San Quentin earned a reputation for corruption and interracial riots that were encouraged by the guards. 6. Diabakir Prison, Turkey. Diabakir Prison was built in 1980 by the Ministry of Justice in Turkey. After September 12, 1980, the Turkish coup, Diabakir became a martial law military prison where torture was a common tool for forced assimilation of the Kurds. A total of 650,000 people were detained after the September coup, and most were beaten or tortured. More than 500 died, many of those at Diabakir. During the period of barbarity, which refers to the early and mid-1980s, when Diabakir was newly built, prisoners were subjected to horrific acts of systemic torture. Though rarely confirmed by superiors, hundreds of testimonies from former Diabakir inmates have told of physical and mental abuse, sleep, sensory, water and food deprivation, Palestinian hangings, hanging by the arms, mock executions, electric shocks to genitals, extraction of nails and healthy teeth, rape or threat of rape, and worse. These abuses against Kurdish prisoners fueled the rise of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, which still fights against the Turkish state. Today, Diabakir is still a working prison, and it's known for its significant number of human rights violations per inmate. Number 5. Mendoza Prison, Argentina. With a population roughly 3 times its capacity, Mendoza Prison in Argentina is severely overcrowded. As many as 5 inmates are crowded into cells that measure only 43 square feet, and many inmates are forced to sleep on the floor without mattresses. Amnesty International reported on the conditions back in 2005, alerting that people imprisoned in Mendoza are in such a desperate situation that they've gone as far as to sew their mouths up in demand of better living conditions. The conditions at that time were so dire, they included torture and in some cases, even the death of inmates. Prisoners had inadequate medical care, and the prison lacked a proper sewage system, forcing inmates no other choice but to use plastic bags and bottles as their washrooms. Number 4. Tadmor Prison, Syria. Tadmor Prison has a reputation for being one of the most oppressive detainment facilities in the world, and this is why it's among the top 10 of our list of most dangerous prisons in the world. Detainees were tortured and killed by being dragged to death or being cut up using an axe. In the June of 1980, President Hafez al-Assad issued orders to soldiers to kill every prisoner in sight as a response to an attack on his life. The exact number of those massacred remains unclear to this date, but it is expected to exceed 1,000, all members of the Muslim Brotherhood. Number 3. United States Penitentiary, Administrative Maximum Facility, ADX, USA. Also known as ADX Florence, Supermax, or the Alcatraz of the Rockies, this is the most maximum security prison in the United States. Built in 1994, this facility houses some of the world's most dangerous criminals. Inmates at this facility spend 23 hours a day in solitary confinement in their 7 by 12 foot concrete cells. Windows are tiny, and prisoners get their meals through small slots in the cell's metal doors. When prisoners are allowed out of their cells during the 1-hour recreation period, they wear several restraints and are escorted by multiple guards to a small outdoor cage. The prison was once described by former warden Robert Hood as a clean version of hell. Number 2. Camp 22, Kacheon, North Korea. Camp 22 is like one large prison in which everyone's right does not matter apart from those of the supreme leader. One would imagine what conditions will be like in this concentration camp that has been operational since 1965. Torturing prisoners is the order of the day here, making it one of the world's most dangerous prisons. Camp 22 is considered a political prisoner camp and can hold 15,000 prisoners. That means they are serving life sentences for being enemies of the state. Inmates here are routinely starved and forced into slave labor in mining, textiles, and farming. Camp 22 also employs a policy known as 3 generations of punishment, which means many prisoners are therefore merely being related to someone suspected of a crime, and they likely die there without ever committing a crime themselves. So unfair. Number 1. Gitarama Prison, Rwanda. The most crowded prison in the world, Gitarama, is home to more than 7,000 prisoners in a facility that was built to hold only 400. Most of the inmates are suspects of the then Rwandan genocide that took place in 1994. Given the extreme overcrowding, the men and women housed here are forced to stand barefoot on the filthy ground for all hours of the day, causing their feet to rot. Many eventually require amputations, but with only one full-time doctor dedicated to the prison, many prisoners are unable to receive the treatment they need, resulting in half a dozen deaths each day. After watching these, I bet you never want to see what prison looks like. If you enjoyed watching it, share, like, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.